We're like, let's go to space in giant penis-shaped aircrafts instead of looking down into the ocean to what's down there.
Always penis-shaped. Is that like really the best way
like
to exit?
Like,
yeah, is it? Is that true?
But they were like so phallic.
Hi, I'm Kat.
And I'm Gabe.
And we're
the Ghouls Next Door. That was like almost in sync. That was very eerily in sync because you just like went for it.
Yeah.
You jumped in. There wasn't like wait for Gabe to do it. It wasn't like wait for Kat. We were just like, this is when we do the thing. So
we are one.
Appreciate
heartache
it.
to heartache.
Oh my God, it's been so long since we said that. It used to be like once an episode that we would quote that. But welcome to the Ghouls Next Door. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch right now as part of our special live episodes where we talk to fellow horror creators that we appreciate. And, you know, we're talking spooky stuff in a little more casual way, just to kind of geek out with our favorite fellow horror lovers. And we have a wonderful guest for tonight that we've had on before, but for an Instagram live. And that was just not enough. Like it's always a delight talking with her. And so I am super excited to welcome Wi-Moto Nyoka of Dusky Projects.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here. It's great to see you guys and see into your houses. I'm like looking behind you at the things on your walls.
Things like get a tour, like
yeah, like it's all very exciting.
Look at my stuff. Yeah, I love putting things really like obnoxiously in places so that like in work meetings people ask me, they're like, "Why do you have?" And I'm like, "I'm the spooky one." That's why I have.
I place it here so that you like, can. This one here you can't really see. Is is the Lunatics. I don't know if you know Lunatics Radio.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's their. This one is like a little knife. They gave me a little pin that's like a bloody knife. It's really nice.
Anyway, little mini murder stab.
Yeah. We have a comment. We have Alan. Hello, everybody.
Oh, hello, Alan. Yeah, Alan is great.
Says, hello, Wi-Moto.
Yes, he's from Support Our Creatives, which is a really great organization that does exactly what the title is. He supports creatives.
So great.
So I love it.
Yeah, well, that's definitely what you are. So it makes sense that you'd be such a fan. For people who don't know or didn't catch our live or didn't ever catch me, I feel like we quote you quite often just from the conversations I have. Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's great. Do I say things that aren't crazy? I feel like everything I say is like insane. Is like what people are like. Is the thing where the record goes like in the movie? Like that's who
like,
I
wait,
am.
What did she say?
Everybody in the restaurant's like.
That's the best way to be, though.
Yeah, I often I'll quote you in our episodes as if like everyone knows who you are. Like, I'll just be like, you know Wi-Moto, right? And Kat's like, I haven't met her in person. I was like, okay, but you know Wi-Moto, right?
I do.
And she said, this amazing thing, and so I'm going to use it as the foundation for this entire thesis. Because you're brilliant. I love all the things that you do. And
I'm also a huge fan. I'm not quoting you yet, but I usually like complimenting you, and I often do compliment you guys. The work that the both of you do, actually, as though people. I just assume, like, if you like horror, you know who the Ghouls Next Door are. So, and if you don't, then I don't know what you're doing with your life. So it's very like that kind of attitude, typically.
Yeah, it's definitely like if you want to, be educated, if you want to think about some things, then absolutely.
Yeah,
we try.
Yes.
Yes. Make America think again.
Yeah.
Quite the endeavor.
Good luck. Good luck to us to do that. But yeah,
Indeed.
For people who don't know, you have Dusky Projects, which is a great project that highlights a lot of things, and including your own work that you create. So a lot of writing scripts. You get some scripts that got picked up, and also under that umbrella, you also have the podcast. Black Women Are Scary,
right,
which I help on, which is just awesome and definitely one of my favorites. In just that there's this like community, like you even say it, like we're doing this together with the Macabre Mixer. It's like finding the people who like finding your community in that way that we just miss out on, especially now when we're still
separated.
Safely distancing.
yeah. Also, like, a lot of the times when people say they want the community to come out, they just want your money.
Yeah, very true.
They just want your money. And so then it's and I mean, I understand, like overhead is real and you have to pay for whatever swag bags whatever it is that you're doing. So it's difficult to just say like, I really want to be in community with you. I just want to get together and talk about this thing that we love. That's a hard thing to do. In some ways, I think it's easier to do it in a digital space.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if the Macabre Mixers would have even been able to happen if we were still like, I think that the fact that it was born during the quarantine, I don't think is like an accident in a way. It's like, this is really, it is kind of, like, and there's people from all over that come, West Coast, East Coast, not even in the States. There's no way I could have achieved that if I was trying to get people's bodies in there.
Yeah.
And then if people were showing up in person, they would have, then you want drinks, then you want this, then you want that, of course, because you brought your whole body over there. So you deserve treats. As opposed to like, I just need you to log on and just like gab with people for an hour and then you go on about your business. You please show up in your PJs. It is kind of like pseudo, I don't know, maybe like a slumber party for grown-ups.
Yeah, it definitely is. It definitely is. And I that's one thing I'm so thankful for, like the internet right now. Like if there was ever going to be a pandemic, like we got lucky that it was now that we have like
back in 1919 with
I don't know what they were doing.
What did they just had to be sad in a room and handles, tell each other like
everyone was Emily Dickinson, everyone was in their attic whining. I do want to point out, because we got a comment for Alan to promote his website, so definitely check out supportourcreatives.com. And because you should, and it's a great resource to find out who we could support and why.
They do some really great work there, and Alan is the spearhead for that. And I think he also has a clubhouse where he like has artists come on and talk about various different things.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah. We're just trying to figure out Clubhouse. We're working on it.
I haven't been on yet. I see a lot of people like they do like mixed drink parties and all kinds of things. I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready. I don't own any alcohol. Like I have to like show up with like having bought gin and things for this. Like, whoo, y'all are doing a lot.
I feel like I'm too introverted sometimes for Clubhouse because I'm like, oh, wow, I have to initiate conversation. I'm down to like participate passively
in the background.
Wait, so you have to initiate?
Sometimes, not always. I mean, there's like things you can join. There's like little groups that you can like just join in on something. But I think like because ghouls are who the ghouls are and like how we would probably feel obligated to like host events and stuff like that. And that would be like chaos for me.
Yeah. I think it's starting just like getting in. I get like, even me as an extrovert, I get like social anxiety. Like if I get a notification, you click it to like see more, it puts you into like the room. And then I'm like, oh gosh, no, now they can.
I just wanted to know what it was. I didn't want to go.
Wow. This sounds really intense. I have not been to this. I don't know how the platform works. So they see you like physically or it's audio or
no, it's just like audio. Yeah.
Oh, so they can just hear you like,
I just want to be in the background
having a panic attack.
That's the real horror story.
That's the real horror story. It's
my favorite phrase.
Yeah, that's something we've been saying recently. Whenever because we started twitching, like Twitch streaming, and we were like,
"Is that what it's called? Twitching?"
Yeah.
You're on Twitch. I'm twitching.
I don't know. It seems easy to say. I don't want to say 2 words when I could say 1.
No, I like it. I think it's funny. Yeah, I twitched currently.
Exactly. But sometimes we'll play like non-horror games, and so then to like make up for the fact that we are this horror channel, or when we cover content that's not like directly horror, they'll just be like, "That's the real horror story," and we'll just pick an element of whatever
just anything it is.
Yeah,
it's
fine. Vaguely horrific. Yeah,
it's fine because most things are horrific. So
exactly,
like you can really just tag that on the end of any sentence these days and be like, "But that's the real horror story," and everyone's like, "Yeah,
literally
what you just said."
If anything, humanity.
Yeah. It always comes down to capitalism.
It does.
Yeah, society. That's the real horror story. Huh?
People,
no one can. Where's the lie? Like, no one's gonna be like, "That's inaccurate." They'll be like, "Well, yeah."
Most of the time, people are in fact trash. That checks out. True story. Analysis complete.
For our listeners who might not be familiar with the things that you are working on, Wi-Moto, can you give us like a 2-sentence elevator pitch for what you do?
No, I can't. So Dusky Projects, we make horror and sci-fi content for myriad platforms. So that's why I just say horror and sci-fi content. Right now, I'm going into production Wednesday for the 2nd season of Black Women Are Scary, which is a podcast that celebrates and produces short horror stories by BIPOC authors. And we're going to have some extras this season with some flash fiction episodes. And we always have this monthly macabre mixer, as you heard Gabe and Kat talking about, where it's a virtual showcase for the author. You get to be a part of a Q&A, and then we design a bunch of games based on the author's work. So you actually get to like meet people one-on-one for the folks that have social anxiety. It's a very curated and very like safe, and we take care of you because we know how like it's like the party I wish I could go to. That's how it's like I'm trying to design it, so it's like eliminate like icebreakers and what do I talk about? Like we like get rid of all that for you so you can just like have fun. So that's really like the main thing. And then I've got my own writing where I'm, I got published last year. I'm going to get published some more with some short stories. And then I've got some screenplays, as you said, that's like they're doing the circuit and, getting the little laurels. Although I'm sort of like, how do I make these things? So what now? So that's kind of where I'm at in that space. But yeah, the podcast is really about me also like highlighting other people's work and other writers. And then whenever I see any opportunities, I share them, right? So other folks like post job opportunities and writing contests and whatnot. I'm always like, yeah, if it's genre related, then I share it out. So
yeah, I appreciate like following Dusky Projects just to know what's out there and what's going on, and it's just a great resource to kind of keep your finger on the pulse of the horror community, specifically with BIPOC creators.
Yeah.
Like it's so easy to lose them or like not.
I'm just trying to find my tribe and like support the tribe and hold space for it. Like I was like, I can't be the only weird Black chick in the world. Like, come on now.
Yeah.
It can't be me and Aisha Tyler,
Yeah.
I don't think that's accurate. So that's kind of really where that happens. And I mean, for a while we were also doing theater. I had some theater shows that were in the genre, also like bringing horror to the stage, but theater is kind of like in a strange place. Right? All that stopped March 2020, like mid step. So, and now I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna. We'll see. I'm supposed to have a play going up in the Science in Theater Festival in November.
Oh,
but
very cool.
And that is like it's set. So, but I don't, I'm looking at this variant and I'm like, is there going to be another show? Like the theaters are opening back up and everybody's going back into rehearsal. But, a lot of the folks are like, they're like ready to bolt at any moment. They're like, do we get to do the show? Do we?
Yeah. It's like having rain days, but it's like pandemic days, like as backup plan. Like, but what do we do if we have to shut down again? Because that's really what it looks like, which honestly is the real horror story. If people are not taking things seriously still, And we do have the variants creeping up.
Yeah, the virus is like, she is not messing around. She is very focused, and she is all about self-improvement. Like,
yeah.
She's an ambitious little bitch.
To describe. Oh my God, that was genius.
But you know what I mean? I'm like, man, you done already like really like you took the opportunity and seized it, and like now you're on the 2.0 version of yourself. I wish I could.
And like, on the side, like just in case.
Who is this ambitious little chick? It makes me think of like, not that this is, I love Reese Witherspoon, but do you remember that movie Election, where she was just like this super overachieving, and I mean, it was just like a movie about winning for her. Yeah. In a way, I'm sort of like, yeah, COVID is kind of like that, like just winning.
Reese Witherspoon in an election, 100%.
That kind of tenacity. This is in no way a disparaging thing. I love Reese Witherspoon, and I think that film is genius.
Yeah,
I actually really liked that character.
Mm-hmm.
We have another comment from Auntie Pesto. Says, I have to head out to a meeting, but loved hearing your intro and you Ghouls talk. All the good things to everything you all are creating. Excited for all.
Yeah, Shirley Pesto, who writes really great like short stories, you guys, spooky Twilight Zone stuff.
Ooh.
So she was in, I think we featured her in episode 3 of our first season. Yeah, we did a double feature. So she was the October. Yeah, there she goes. She's like, she was the October episode, and that's
the
like
spookiest month.
Yeah, that's her jam. She has a lot of like. Yeah, I would say like Twilight Zone-esque, where it's just here's reality, and then it's like, eek, like to the left of reality, like it's so close to reality, and then this thing happens, and you're like, wait, what?
Yeah, I love that.
Kind of
yes, I love when it's like it really toes the line where you could believe the mystical or magical excuse, but you could also like find a realistic explanation. Yeah. Like Octavia Butler does that quite well, and like. When we did Tigers Are Not Afraid, I was like, there's a real life thing that's happening, and then there's also the imagination, and you can choose which one you want to believe. And I really appreciate stories like that.
Yeah, that movie really floored me.
Yeah.
I was surprised that more people weren't talking about it when it came out. I was like, how is this not the award-winning, I don't know, something? Why is this not winning like best foreign film or something? You know what I mean? Like I was just like, I don't understand why no one is talking about it.
Got no respect, got
no respect. And I was like, this is whack, y'all. This movie is amazing.
It really is. And every time I tell people about it, they're like, what? That sounds amazing. Like, how did I not know? Like the same thing happened with She Never Died. When we were talking about that, people were like, what? And I was like, exactly.
And it was on a fluke that I saw the trailer for that. And I think it was, I don't know, maybe it just came on an advertisement as I was watching Tubi. Because it's like, I've only ever seen that. I've never seen that in any other lineup other than in Tubi. She Never Died. So I just saw that trailer and I was like, what? She's immortal and she's eating people?
Yeah.
What? I have to see
Sign me up.
Sign me up. And then I had such a great time watching that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great one. I feel like that happens on horror a lot too. Just like that things that would generally not, it just gets missed out on for awards for whatever. I guess the reason is people are uncomfortable and don't like to be uncomfortable ever. That's the problem with the world. But
I mean, people didn't take a horror. People still, I think, in many ways, don't take horror seriously. Like it's like a lowbrow genre, right? So like when a horror film is undeniable, then they have to say like it's high horror, elevated horror, and it's like, can I curse on this? Can I curse on your Twitch stream here? Can I? Are you PG?
We are, that we do air on TV, like local television.
Okay, so I won't say what I was going to say. But yeah, like, what do you mean elevated? As though the norm is something like lowbrow, whatever. You know, it's like, like I've never seen, not non-elevated drama. All of those are just Oscar-winning pictures. Like,
yeah, come on. Yeah, I think it's very interesting how quickly people will dismiss horror, and then we'll like cover something on our show and they'll be like, but that's not horror. It's like, no. Just because you liked it, it doesn't mean it's not horror now.
Yeah. That's not how that works.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it that you have a bias. Like I had a bias for romance for a very, very long time. And it was only until like maybe last year that I was like, it could just be the romance that I've been exposed to. Mm-hmm. And I started to really listen to, podcasts where you have authors that are pushing the envelope in that genre. And then it became very interesting of the political and, gender politics that play into the way people talk about horror or way people talk about romance and who gets to like star in romance. And then I kind of was like connecting the dots between that and horror. And it's kind of like, oh yeah, like a lot of these genres have these kind of same issues of like, this is who has to be centered and this is who gets to tell that story. And this is who gets to fall in love.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like,
very true. And it's like, who are we letting like make those distinctions like and set up those barriers? Like, how do we knock those down so we can have things?
Who and why did we let that happen? Like it sounds like why we say yes to that.
Like I didn't sign off on that. Ask me. So I would have said no.
I was not at that meeting.
Yes. We generally ask like our guest because it's something that we have been asked and I always think it's interesting. Is there a specific type of horror that gets under your skin? Like not necessarily your favorite, but one that like genuinely like spooks you?
Oh, that scares me.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah.
For real. Yes. Mm-hmm. Aquatic horror.
Same.
Aquatic horror usually really freaks me out because the ocean is scary. Because the ocean is genuinely scary. And I mean, I love things that happen in space, but it's like so far away and so difficult to get to that typically any horror that happens in space is also happening in some kind of like future timeline.
Yeah.
Because we don't have our space travel capacity right now is fairly limited. But
yeah.
Aquatic horror is a totally different story. It's like, oh, we can do all these things and we are doing all these things.
It's here and available right now.
And it is, and in a lot of ways, I think that when it's done well, it is like going to outer space in a way. Like so much of, I watched that Underwater with, what's the name from Twilight? What's
Kirsten.
Yeah.
Kirsten.
Visually, I thought that film was so like engaging, and there's so much of it where it's like it looks like they're just in outer space because it's that kind of like deep dark oblivion, and you can't like take your helmet off because you will drown or free. I don't even know, like the imploding, like the whole like aspect
pressure.
Like the pressure, like just the realities of going deep. And the fact that we've explored maybe 1% of the ocean floor, we don't know what's down there. We don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That movie scared me, and I'm not even afraid of the ocean in that way. But I was like, this, because, and like you were saying, because it's so much like space in that, like the like that scene with the like explosion, like really gets me, because space gets to me. Like I can't, I'm like, why be up there?
It's not made for us.
Yeah, literally. We cannot be up there. You're just trapped. Like there's nothing you could do if that happens. Like with the water, it's like there's to some degree people can maybe come get you.
Maybe. Though, but if you're real deep, that's it. Like if it goes down, because you can't even like go to you can't swim to the surface. There's no way you'd make it in time, and you can't rise to the surface because you will implode.
Yes, exactly. When we did our isolation series, it was just like, honestly, if you're stranded anywhere, it's the worst. Like we did like isolation underwater. We did isolation like underground, where we talked about like the descent.
Like in like or caves. Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm, like spelunking. Like why?
I would never do that. Anything where there's like no light, I'm just like, I don't. Why?
Yeah, like what?
Yeah.
I don't
know.
The
theme is like, go a place, don't tell anybody for some reason. So no one can save, like just, you're going to go somewhere and then not secure an outlet for if murder or just accident happens.
Right.
And now there's a film. But I would 100% agree with you. I'm terrified of underwater. Viscerally so. I wouldn't even watch the movie that you're talking about because Gabe watched it.
I had to like tell her
live tweet it to me essentially because I was like, I refuse. I know.
Like, and now the monster octopus, and you were like, nope.
Yeah.
I consider ocean documentaries horror films. Like it is.
You're just watching Shark Week. You're like, why did they get in the cage? And now they're gonna throw they're like, and now we'll throw the chum in.
Why do we need to know?
Yeah.
Like I know what sharks do. What?
There are zombie parasites that will eat animals' bones underwater, and it's still. I'm just like, what if was up here? Why is no one more scared?
Yeah,
I just feel very strongly about it, but I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Anything deep, floods,
Mm-hmm.
because it's all in some ways happened.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say like aquatic really gets to me, and then the second after that would be eco horror because it just feels
it's too real,
like a breath away from
when
it's done well. You're like, oh, this is gonna happen, isn't it? Should I be preparing for this?
Yeah.
So anything like Thaw. I don't know if you saw Thaw. Oof.
No.
Yeah, that
one is.
Yeah, so anything that involves going up north. I love hate it, like because I watch it. See, so I'm messed up, but like it scares me, and it like
you're in the right company.
But I watched it, like I watched Thaw, like I read the log and I was like, this is terrible, and then I clicked on it. Or Fortitude, which was actually a series on Amazon. Yeah. Which I really enjoyed, and my husband and I watched it. We didn't even know it was going to be an eco horror, and it didn't even warn you that it was. It was just kind of like a drama set in the northernmost tip of the planet. So Fortitude is like as far as you can get up into the Arctic before it's just like people can't be there. So you've got the isolated northern towns, a murder mystery, and we were just like, oh yeah, we love that. And then it like descends into an eco horror because there's a couple of shows that talk about, I've seen this now as a recurring motif of what happens when these glaciers melt and the things that are like frozen inside of them.
Yeah.
Thaw.
Like awakening.
Hence, like the word thaw of just like,
see.
So what we're really talking about is like prehistoric viruses or bugs that we have no like content. They're out of time, and because we've messed up the earth, now they're in a time where it like makes no sense for them to be.
There's a really terrible
that's gonna happen.
The sci-fi movie that Mystery Science Theater covered. That was that, where it was like a thawed out lizard creature. I forget what it's called. I fail, but yeah. I mean, it's a bad film, but it's like that's not that bad. Like it's not that far off.
Yeah.
I might be wrong, but isn't that like what Godzilla is?
No,
I think Godzilla is there's like a bunch of different.
Gotcha. Okay. I did not know.
Him and a bunch of other ones, like the big wasp thing and the other ones. They have like names for them. They're like creatures, right?
Yeah, but they are a representation of like what we're doing to the environment. Like they're the reaction to like some of them, like the reaction to chemicals and like pollution, that kind of stuff. Yeah,
they're like a manifestation of that.
Yeah, so it's like look at what you did. Like men are their own folly. It's like our fault. It's like watching like Soylent Green. I'm like, no, yeah, I mean we have a company called Soylent. Like it's not that far out.
We're close.
Yeah, like when they at the end of Soylent Green, when they're like showing the whole room full of like images, that's just like a Nat Geo documentary of like what the world looked like, where it was green and it had water and just being like, oh my gosh, I remember when we had plants, and I was just like, I honestly like I can see like a world where children don't know what certain animals are or like any of that.
I mean we are actually children in a world that don't know what certain animals are.
Yeah, true.
That's already that's like I don't know what a dodo bird looks like.
Very true. Yeah.
Yeah. I've never seen a dodo bird in my life.
Yeah.
I already did.
Never did it. Yeah, that's super
gone.
true.
So.
I'm just waiting for giant water creatures to be like, y'all mess up the ocean. We're coming up now. We're coming up here now.
Okay.
This is no longer for us, clearly. So now where you are is for us. And we are gigantic sentient beings that are going to rise from the sea. That's just what I think's it's like very irrational, but also not. Like, I feel like it could happen. And we just don't know because we haven't looked. We're like, let's go to space in giant penis-shaped aircrafts instead of looking down into the ocean to what's down there.
Always penis-shaped. Is that like really the best way
like
to exit?
Like,
yeah, is it? Is that true?
But they were like so phallic. Like it
like
was
the
like
last one for what's his face?
Yeah,
was
fine. We don't have to
like,
give them names.
was real felt like almost like somebody at NASA played a prank on him or something.
Yeah. And like why? You know, like we could have used that money for literally anything else. We're in the middle of a pandemic and people are dying.
Lots of things.
Astronomical numbers. So
lots of things.
It's a nice analogy for who he is as a person, though, I will say.
And just like where the world is right now. Yeah. Yeah,
just
it's pretty appropriate.
Ruining everything.
And that's the real horror story.
That's
the real horror story. I agree that aquatic is scary, ecological is scary. When we did apocalypses, I think one of the I guess it was both terrifying and also like relieving was cosmic horror in like the cosmic apocalypse of like we mean nothing. You know, like that we mean nothing. Because part of it's like, oh, you feel sad. But then it's like, but you know what also that means? I could do whatever I want. Yeah, and it's like no pressure.
Comforting.
I don't have to do it, you know? Just being here is literally enough.
Yeah. I'm going to turn my light on because like the sun went down.
Okay.
And I'm just going to do this.
Woo!
Just so that
this is live, folks. This is how TV is made.
This is how
podcasts are made. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. I think it's freeing. I think if you like just think of yourself as like, this is my chance. This is my time. Just going to enjoy my life. It doesn't have to mean anything to anybody else.
The universe is random.
Yeah. Whatever. Grand scheme of things.
Yeah. Well, then you kind of have to think like, well, then what is most important to my existence if my existence is just like a blink?
Yeah. Exactly.
But then it kind of, I think, did you ever watch that, like Neil deGrasse Tyson when he talks about the universe and it's like, we are stardust. Like it almost gets a little poetic.
Yeah.
So then it's hard to feel scared because you're like, and then we return to the stars, the universe where we belong. I don't know. It's a little romantic.
Yeah. I think
live each day
also has that too.
Like a giant meteor is going to destroy the planet.
Yeah.
Because why not? Why not?
Because odds are, honestly, it will. It's odd that it hasn't yet. It's also like furthermore is the Key and Peele Neil deGrasse Tyson skit where it's like him using his science like as an excuse for like things that his wife is asking about, and he's just like, she's like, you haven't done this thing yet, and he's like, well, in the grand scheme of time, we are just the last day of the calendar year of the universe, so time doesn't really matter. And she's like, just do the dishes. Like I don't care about your science. One of my favorite skits. So cool. Well, we asked you to tell us a film to watch or media to watch, and we did. And it is Gundala.
Yeah.
Joko Anwar. And we've covered him before with Impedagore. Really love that film. The actress is in this, which was nice.
Yeah. He's like using the same folks again and again and again, you know. So it's like the universe of Joko Anwar.
Yeah. And so for people who want to know, Gundala is Indonesia's preeminent comic book superhero and his alter ego, Sanchaka, enter the cinematic universe to battle the wicked Penkor and his diabolical squad of orphan assassins, which is like the most exciting thing you can hear. It's very I loved like just the opening credits of like their own like Marvel Cinematic Universe opening where it was like comic books, and I was like, I haven't read any of those. I want to.
Yeah. I mean, this is why I suggested. I watched it because I like this particular director, and it's not horror, but it's like he usually makes horror, and it's like, what, you need a superhero movie? So when I heard about it, I was like, he did, And then I was just super excited to just watch something that wasn't Marvel or DC that was still heroes, because I just feel like I'm inundated. Don't get me wrong, I love it, but like I was like, people have heroes, people have comics, please let me see them. So it was super excited to just get into a universe that doesn't have anything to do with that, and also see heroes in other countries with other cultural contexts to see like what they're going through, what they're processing right now.
What's important.
Like I'm just like, what do you guys think about? You know, it's just like hearing someone else's thoughts on similar themes. So that was why I was like, oh, I think it'd be great to talk about this with other people.
When I was like looking it up, because it does feel a little like, the one thing is that some of it, like, because there's like reveals of characters or things, and I'm like, I don't know what any of that is.
You're like, I don't know who these people are.
I was like, oh,
it's exciting. They got music.
They said their name like it was a thing. And I don't know. So we were like looking them up, and it was like that Gundala, like the comic book came out like, I think it's in 1969.
Oh wow!
And Mike was saying like that predates Gwen Stacy's death, or something like that in Spider-Man. So I was just like, oh, look at all this time, like the time period in which these things were made. But to think, like, I really just enjoyed, like, it did follow that like natural like superhero origin story, but it still felt different, because it's like, how many times have we seen the death of Uncle Ben? You know, like, it's tired. I'm tired of seeing that. So it was so nice to like see a story that I don't know and just be like, this is cool. Look at this little boy running flip-flops. So good at it.
So good at it. Every time I've ever run in flip-flops, the little center thing popped out and I fell. So I was genuinely impressed the entire. I was like, how?
I also thought it was interesting the importance of the flip-flop. Like, I felt like that was like, he made a point of being like, he's in flip-flops versus this other kids or these other people who are not. Like, I felt like that meant something about class. Walking around in flip-flops, I was like, you want me to see his shoes. You want to see that he doesn't really have like adequate shoes to be doing any of the things that he's doing.
And he's still doing it.
And he's still doing it.
He might have caught up onto that train if he wasn't wearing those flip-flops, though. I was like,
I know. If he had some Jordans, I think he might have been able to sprint and got up on that. Some Adidas. He'd have been able to do it.
In terms of symbolism, though, that does make sense, because if you think about flip-flops, they're not a very supportive shoe, and the other kids had closed-toed shoes. So that's totally real, like, because they maybe had more support of their lives, and then he didn't. So that's like really cool. I didn't even think about it that way. It's dope.
So the story, so it's a superhero story of Sanchaka, who he has this line where he is afraid of lightning, and he says, because it's always after him. And there's like a scene, a reveal where he is struck and he's like, powered in some way. And then later he's like using that. I think it's interesting that throughout the entire film, there are several uprisings. Like there's always a workers' uprising. And I felt similar to like when I was watching in Pedagore, like just thankful for like this view into like a society and a culture that I have no knowledge of.
Right.
And it felt very authentic, and it was like exciting to see. It's like the same way I feel when I watch like a Bong Joon-ho. I'm like, oh, now you have similar class issues.
It was really exciting to see like where you have the thing in common in terms of the way that the story like unfolded. I was like, I understand all of these tropes. Like, I get that this is an origin story. I get that this kid that he met, I'm probably going to see him in the sequel because it matters that they met when they were kids. I get like, I'm like, the parents got to be like, you got to be an orphan. Like, that's like step one, tragedy, right? Like, there's just like things where I like understood what he was doing because he knows how to direct and tell a story. And I feel like he was borrowing from like some American storytelling tropes but then there would be these moments of like, oh, that would never happen in an American, like where I'm like aware that this is like from another perspective. And that was also super exciting. Like the level of violence with the children, which I both loved and also was like, you could never get away with that in American films. But just like the honesty of like, some kids don't make it. Some kids' lives are awful. I'm not going to even bother to sugarcoat that for you. Like, this is a band, like, the kids that cornered him, that scene where he was like, okay, so that wonderful like misdirect where he leaves his house and then they cut to the fancy car and the guy and the nice clothes and the woman, and you think that you flash forward and he's done really well. And then like he's runs into that frame and he's still a kid. And I'm like, he's still a kid at this time in the movie? Usually he's already grown up, right? So I loved that little bait and switch. That scene though, where he was being bullied. Yeah. Oh my God. I was like, whose children are these? They're awful. They like, there was like that shot where he just gets punched in the face a bunch. Yeah. And then, like, cut behind the ear. I was like, you would not see this particular level unless it was like a gritty drama, but not in like a hero film. And then shout out to the children who then engaged in this like fantastic fight choreography. Yeah. I was like, I'd like to, you know, like give thanks to the after school martial arts program that trained these, like, because they're like, what are they, like 9 through 12? Yeah. Like, they were like flipped and did like Tony Jaa stunts. And I was like, who are these children doing this incredible fighting? I also loved that he like, I'm going to have a kid fight scene and it's going to be good. Yeah. In the middle of his movie.
and it's going to be fun. I found that really fun. And that's why I stopped watching and waited for my partner to watch because he loves like fight movies. Like forced me to watch The Raid and The Raid 2, which they're actors from The Raid in this film. And I was like, yes, that makes sense. And so part of me was like, I hope that, you know, because they made a decent amount of money on this one, like for the sequel that comes out, like I hope they can get like choreographers, like fight choreographers from something like The Raid, since they had some of those actors, and even get some of those actors from there. Cause I was like, it could be like even better. I'm going to put up our spoiler town so that we can talk more about what's going on with like the orphan assassins, which were, I was disappointed they were at the end and they were kind of like rushed. Cause I was like, I really wanted like just to spend time. Like if this was like a series or something, I could have had an episode for their backstory and who they were. They were all very interesting.
And why did you pick this? Why do you have the like bag of rocks and this person has the mask on the back of his head and this
and why is that your job?
Act? Like why? Like like what? I feel like all of them had vocations that were also somehow strategic. Like the one who had to buy,
gave them the jobs.
Yeah, he was like, "You're going to be a musician.
You're the chef.
You're
a blacksmith.
Right. You're the one who's the doctor who was just like in the ER and got the message and was like, I'm out. I was like,
you're the college student.
Yeah,
I don't know what you're studying, but you're in there.
Yeah, but she was like ready to go. Like she dropped everything and she was like, all right.
She was excited.
She was excited. She was really happy about it. Yeah,
like, I've been waiting to murder. Here we go.
I've been waiting to do this.
It's like kids from Kill Bill.
Yeah.
Teens.
Yeah.
A little obnoxious. I did like the blacksmith though. His stuff wasn't as well blacksmithed. But I mean the violinist was super cool. I don't know if I'm wrong in this, but because we have that flashback story, origin story, part 2 of Pengor, and like he had been burned, and then he was in the orphanage, and he gathered up the orphan kids, and there's sitting on top of the like dude and slices him. Yeah, is that the violinist? Because I feel like that makes sense.
I don't know. They never really say, but you get the impression that all of the children that eventually you see later are in that shot somehow. Like they're all the same. Yeah. Especially the older one, especially the one, like some of the older ones, the dude with the mask.
The fire dude.
Behind, like, and then like the magic dude, which he didn't even explain. No one explained that.
Why? How?
He's just like has magic. And I was like, okay.
And it's like, why does he have the fire magic and not the dude who was fire impacted?
Yeah, I don't know. Is it like innate abilities that you knew that you recognized in them and then fostered? I have so many questions. Yeah. Well, maybe it'll happen in the second film.
Yeah.
Explain to me just like the orphan assassin.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause then like, and then there was like the whole side mish of the other evil dude who's like trying to awaken some being and that's how we get Gundala. Cause it's like, he doesn't even know, he doesn't even know he's the thing that he is.
So the main villain isn't even the villain, right?
Yeah.
Like he's like a red herring. So you're watching this whole thing, and then there's this other dude who works for that main villain, but he's like doing his own thing, and you're like, why is he doing a thing on the side? And then it's like, I think all of that is a ruse for like the real story is that he has some kind of destiny.
Yeah, I think he's like, he's gonna be awoken because he is somebody reincarnated or something.
Yeah, or
prophesied.
He is chosen in some way, which makes sense because why does lightning always want to get him?
Yeah,
and so I'm like, is it like Thor? Is he a god and he doesn't know it?
We did have like a Mjolnir moment with
I just wonder, like, oh, is that who you are? Because it doesn't make any sense. Like the way that they said it like he is somebody like that. Walking on Earth, it shouldn't be.
Yeah, and it was super cool. I had no idea what was going on. I will say it was one of those moments where there's parts of Pancor where I was like, nah, I get it. Like, I know he's like the villain, but like, is he though? There were sometimes where I'm like, he's kind of speaking truth here.
Yeah,
like,
I was with him on a lot of the things. Except for injecting pregnant women with stuff. I was like, leave them alone. But
why? Always the pregnant women.
Yeah, but your critique on some other things, I'm not mad at you.
Yeah. I think one of the most entertaining parts was like that idea of like morality and the kids are going to be born immoral. Because it's like, that's not how that works. That's morality isn't you're birthed into it. That's a known thing you learn.
Yeah.
And also, and the guy was like, what do we consider immoral? And he listed all these things and no one answered him.
Nobody, everyone just left it there. Like the whole council was like, and they just like didn't even touch it. But I thought what was interesting was that the result of them getting the vaccine, like that the point was that he wanted the entire country to be unified about something. And you saw that like the Congress, they're like, I think it was their Congress or I'm assuming that it's a Congress. I don't even know what their like mode of government is. I apologize, Indonesia. I am stupid.
Well, they can Congress people or your
legislators or something.
Yeah, they had like state representatives. So, their legislation apparently had always been at odds, and having them come together to protect the future seemed like it was a moment that mattered.
Mm-hmm.
And since, our legislation doesn't do that either, I was like, yeah, this would be a big deal.
Yeah. That the one thing that I didn't enjoy was, and this is just and it's like a product of its time being made in like the original story coming from 1969, is having like someone who has a deformity be a villain just because of that, and like for him to like want children to be that, and like for that to be like, this is what the evil thing is that kids are going to look different. And it's like, okay, hold on. Like there's a lot to unpack here in the fact that like, that is not the worst thing at all. Honestly, like they're still your kids. They're still alive, right?
But in that context, it is, I guess, like they didn't seem like people, it didn't seem the country like looked at it that way.
Yeah.
And looked at him that way. And so he was like a product of that, of those stares and those attitudes. And I could see how he became what he became.
Yeah. I think it's more of like his, like that was being used as like a tool. And I think it was like he wanted people to like see them and to be reminded of what their like of their prejudices essentially. And to be reminded of like their failures as a people, which like I get, but it's also like, don't use children. But it was also the problem that I had with, even within Pedagore was like this, like we need to kill the children because they look different or they're born different. And I'm like, no. Like, no, we're not doing that. And that's like, honestly, my only gripe anytime. Like is when I'm just like, let's not, make that be the thing. But the whole like morality thing for a while was just very funny to me. Because I was like, is that
how do you measure that? How do you even know that's happening?
Worlds. Like, I mean, they are, a lot of them are.
And for their society to be the way that it was, like in the level of uprisings, in the level of just like injustice that is actively everywhere. And for them to be like, we're going to create immorality, like the fact that like they aren't recognizing that is already taking place, that they're not, I guess, acting as like good people or humans, like, because they're exploiting their populations and exploiting their people in like their actions. It was just very comical, I guess I would agree. Like that, it was just like, what do you mean there's going to now be immoral children? What have y'all been doing this entire time?
I believe that they had a character actually like point that out, and I think and then nobody answered him, but I'm like, that is kind of how it goes, right? Like you don't see yourself.
Yeah.
But we've been sitting here watching, like Joko was like, yeah, but I put in like 5 uprisings in this. So you've seen like how many worker uprisings and attempts to unionize be squashed. And then these like gangs go around and beat up on like that elderly couple that just owns that shop. I was like, you put that in there so that we understand that the society is kind of, like, it's like a dystopian.
It's already
already. So these politicians don't even really seem that good. Like I was not even really that like convinced about them.
Yeah, I wasn't rooting for the politicians.
Yeah, and I kind of was like for the villain. I was like, you know what? Who was gonna take care of these orphans if not him? Like, well, hey.
Yeah, exactly.
But like he kind of did a service
for
here.
the people,
So then I wasn't surprised when the real story was actually something else.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like you thought. For sure. I think even one of the congressmen says, like, when he's petitioning for the vaccine to be expedited, says, like, I cheated to get my way here. Like, all of my, coworkers cheated. We cheat all the time. And it's like, this is the truth of the matter. So I'm going to use that one time that I do that to,
do something
cheat
good for once.
Cheat correctly.
Right. Which, again, I just go back to, like, American hero movies. Yeah. I'm not going to have anything that, like, scathing.
Yeah, actually calls out the prison system. Yeah.
Yeah. There was
in play.
There was this awareness of, like, there's disparity. There's real intense poverty. There's, like, government corruption. Yeah. And it wasn't even it wasn't even the focal point. It was like, but really it's about this dude getting hit by lightning. And like, like, that's just the backdrop because that's just Tuesday. And I was like, I appreciate you.
Yeah. And I like how, even though this is like based on, a previous thing, like that some of the environments and like the issues that are taking place are also in Pedagore. So it's like those are issues that are still relevant and prevalent in this society that he's dealing with, like that people in Indonesia are dealing
exploring
with.
Through media.
Yeah. Working, definitely workers. The workers' rights seems to be very important, and gender.
Yeah.
There always seems to be something about women's rights in in all of it.
It's like classism, and then also like the role of woman in like what that expectation is, because a lot of them are kind of falling into that, especially in Pedagore. But I love Joko. I'm so excited that you pitched that because it was I don't know if we would have stumbled upon it on our own. But we're happy that we're like kind of rediscovering or like going over other works of directors that we really enjoyed. So like later this month we'll cover Rhymes for Young Ghouls from Jeff Barnaby. Quantum. And so I'm just like, let's just keep like amplifying these amazing creators who aren't getting enough attention for how cool they're doing, like what they're doing, and talk about issues that are relevant to them and that we can also relate to.
Yeah, I loved that one, Rhymes for Young. I saw that one before. I watched them in chronological order, right? So I saw Rhymes, then I saw Blood Quantum, and I'm excited for you guys to experience
watched it.
We have not watched it yet.
Films. Yeah.
Yes. So, Kat, you have any questions?
Not questions. I guess like final thoughts on the film. I did really enjoy that both the villain and like our hero in the story had very similar backstories, and that they were both made orphans by the system, and that like how they processed that or like operated throughout life, both in their struggles and hardships, like landed somewhere different. And I just thought that was really interesting. And I enjoyed that their stories weren't so different. Like, it wasn't that he got in that car with that rich family and his life was just better now.
Yeah.
And it kind of just showed like the very multidimensional way people process trauma. And I just really appreciated that. And yeah, I just thought that was cool that they weren't so different. Like, they could probably relate to each other in any other scenario where he wasn't trying to poison people.
Yeah. Yeah. When he didn't take that Joker turn.
Yeah,
like I was like, okay, what are we doing?
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
hold on,
yeah.
you had like a real ideology for a second that I was like on board with.
Yeah. You lost me at the vaccine. You lost me at this fake vaccine thing that was really poison.
They could have united together against workers' oppression. Like,
there's a lot
that could have been. But I just thought that was interesting. I thought that was like a really cool way to show.
Yeah,
that like people figure out their stuff differently, and that it hits people differently.
Yeah.
I like
that you mentioned that he got in the car, and it seemed like, oh, this will be it, and he went on the advice of his friend, who was like, yeah, I was.
Don't trust rich
people.
Yeah, that is an amazing line to put in a hero movie. Don't trust rich people.
Yeah.
Like,
Batman.
Like, and that's the other thing, you know, all of the heroes centered in this were very working class or like lower, you know what I mean? They weren't, they didn't come into resources the way they do in ours. Like you said, like Batman, or even Superman, like he literally crash landed into a middle-class life. Like, this didn't happen to them. And he actually ran away from it because it was potentially just as dangerous, if not more so. Like, that one kid was like, I almost died. I had to leave.
Yeah.
So the fact that, like,
I'd rather do this than
I would rather
lack
do
of
this.
luxury.
Yeah, like that. Like, so that kind of critique on privilege, I thought was really.
Yeah, they were also super creepy. Like, the fact that they like immediately got this kid in their car and was like, "Honey, do you want to have a new kid?"
Yeah, no, I would have ran. I thought it was a solid choice on his. When he ran out, I was like, that's a good look.
Yeah, I was like, there's so much we have to do. Like, where's his birth certificate? Like, we don't have any.
Like the discussion before deciding.
Do you want to be a doctor or a scientist? We have all the options for you. I was like, wow, how
real sus. I was like, no, they're gonna sell you or tie
like, this
you
is
up
like
or
hostile.
Something.
This is hostile.
Yeah, I was like, don't get out of this car. That's
but that's how you end up in the worker orphanage that they had. Like, that's like, honestly, it seemed like that was the route to it, and it was good that he got out of there because it ultimately leads to more exploitation and gross.
Yes. We have a goodbye from Alan. Thank you for listening, Alan.
Thank you.
This will be up tomorrow, or for people who are listening to it, it's up on Tuesday. So bye, Alan. He says, great discussion. I have to go now. I agree. It is a great discussion. Wi-Moto, do you have any last thoughts about the film?
No, I mean, just thank you so much for agreeing to watch it. And it was kind of like a left field, like an Indonesian superhero movie for a comic that none of us have read.
Yeah.
But I promise you'll like it. So I appreciate that you guys just did it. I was able to talk about it with somebody because I don't think anybody's seen it.
It was very fun.
I think that's one of my favorite things about like doing like our guest episodes is because we will ask our guests to pitch something to us. Like, we don't come with like, we want you to, like, there's only one time we did that, and that was with Hereditary for Victims and Villains. But like, we're like, tell us. And we have always found something interesting that we probably never would have found on our own. Like, I really loved Ganjiam. We did the Spell with Xena. We did that weird movie with the horror queers. I forgot. She Dies Tomorrow. Like, we're always seeing something really unique. And so I thank you for pitching that. And also just, again, thank you for your social media presence, for keeping us in the know on what's going on in the horror. Yeah. So you're our lifeline to the tribe of knowing who else is out there and not feeling alone, and being able to like geek out about horror just anytime, and in a way that's not just like, we like when, you know, the dude murders the lady savagely. It's like, no, let's talk about like quote unquote elevated horror, which is literally all horror. That's not just like,
we can elevate it,
torture porn, Yeah,
we can elevate it. We can find the thing and elevate it. It is on you to elevate the horror.
Yes, exactly. Like, what are you watching this with the intent of doing, right? If you're going in there to learn, you got your media analysis glasses on, that's an elevated horror film.
Although I would like to give a shout out to the times when you're not doing that and you're just like, I just want to yell at the screen.
Yeah.
There are some movies where you're like, that's going to be one of those movies where I get to yell at the screen, and that's why I'm watching it.
Just fun catharsis.
Yeah. I'm sure we could find, I feel like Kat and I could find any topic from any horror film to be like, this is about this societal issue. Like, we've been doing this for 4 years. On second nature. But I still feel like, I don't know if there'll ever be a time for us to cover House of Wax, but I love House of Wax. And it's such a dumb horror movie, and I love it. Like, Paris Hilton, like, it's one of those things I could just sit there and be like, what a fun time. Like, I remember this episode.
All Sam Raimi is it's just a good time. I don't think there's nothing deeper going on other than just like weird puppet horror stuff, and it's ridiculous. Bruce Campbell is great. I watched the series, I watched the movies. There's another installment coming out. I'm here for it. I'm like, y'all could be on the moon doing this. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
What if people could be candles? That's the plot of House of Wax.
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
For me.
They're like, what? Yeah.
It makes wax people
over the top, like,
melts at one point, and it's just like, oh god.
Like,
I didn't know my skin could do that if it was under wax.
So
okay.
Gross. Yeah. I just really enjoy, like, when it's over the top gore that's not believable in any way. Like, it's just like, that was fun. Like, I'm sure in the writer's room, that was just super fun to pitch, to be like, what can we do to a human body that's absolutely absurd? Let's do it. Let's do that. And then I'm like, yeah, I'm here for it. But if it's like trying to be real and the whole point is that humans are trash and like will do gross things like Hostel, I'm like, okay. Like, we know.
Yeah, I'm not really into
but
that.
But it's getting meta now. Because now it's like, we're the trash humans that you're writing about.
There's some that I've missed. I didn't do Hostel. I did do Saw. I'm not familiar with Saw. And I missed out on The Purge. I know that like some people like really dig it.
We love The Purge.
Yeah. I just haven't. I don't know.
Because it does that straddling of like fun horror things, versus, but also like social.
Oh, society.
Yeah. I think maybe that's why. Because I'm like, I think I could just go outside and
yeah. People do that without The Purge. They don't need a day where crime is legal, because that's just called being a white person. We privileged, like, you could just do that.
I don't know, but I don't like knock it. You know, like I know that people swear by these franchises, and I'm like, I also don't really know about the paranormal folks. Like, I haven't watched any of those. Not that I'm against found footage anything, because I watched Cloverfield and Blair Witch, and so
you should
haven't really got into it.
To our episode on Paranormal Activity, because we talk about the timeline and it's all junked up. It's a mess, and you just hear me like conspiracy theorist trying to piece together the nonsense that is this franchise, and you can hear me lose my brain. I lose sanity points drastically.
Maybe it's probably one of those things where you just have to like let it wash over you, where you're like, I just accept what this is.
I can't do. Awesome. Thank you so much for being on. This was awesome. Time flew by, as always. Lovely conversation. Like I said, we're going to try to have horror meetup, so we definitely should hang out.
Let's do it, please. Tell me about this horror meetup. I'm going to show up with bells on.
Yeah.
Very excited.
I'm super excited to do that. For people who want to keep up with what you're doing, where can they find you?
Yeah, I'm mostly on Instagram. I like dabble on Twitter, but I just can't, y'all. So
Twitter's stress.
So mostly on Instagram at Dusky Projects, and everything kind of like spokes out from there. So all the things about Black Women Are Scary are also via Dusky Projects, or you can follow us at Black Women Are Scary. And the podcast is available everywhere you listen to podcasts. Our first season is already all up, so if you want to just hear the first season. And then, we're set to air this fall pretty soon, coming up September. So
getting
new
very
authors,
excited.
New scary stories. Should be a good time.
Yeah, so definitely listen to season 1 so you can get pumped for season 2, which is on its way in production, starts this week.
Yeah.
Very excited.
Yeah.
Hands on whatever it is that you're doing. So you can spruce it up because it's always always a joy.
There's gonna be some good stories this second season. So not that there weren't in the first one, but like now it's like all right, it's like it hit our stride. So
yeah, that's so awesome. Yeah, so definitely watch, keep track of what you're up to, listeners, so that you can see what's going on with Black Women Scary or just Dusky Projects, because there are a lot of things coming up that is super exciting.
Yeah.
So thanks again.
Thank you for having me. This is so much fun.
And with that being said, Kat,
don't get married.
Delete your kids.
They will. They will.